Thanks indeed for still staying with us. The program is This Morning on ITV. It's now time for us to hit aviation today. For those of us trying to engage in business, already in business, you know, the SWOT theory, XWOT, that is the SWOT theory: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. That when you are about to go into a business, you look at the strength, you look at your weakness, you look at your strength, your weakness, your opportunities, and threat. But today, we want to talk about aviation, and we'll be looking at our threat as well. Didn't need to error, looking at the threat and error management when it comes to aviation here. And I will be discussing with the man on the screen here, whose photograph you see on the screen there, Mr. Godwin N.E.K., the man who believes that communication, when it comes to him being one of our own guests here, taking us through series over years here, he should be having it like an interface here. If you watch the program and want to communicate with him, he's giving you all his details there, both his both lines there, his email address, the website in case you want to research, the YouTube channel if you want to go there, if you want to tweet, is also there so that you can follow him through, and we discuss all of this in the aviation sector. And one thing that is fundamentally important going forward here is that most of us believe when we are flying, the first thing we do first of all is to enjoy the airport environment. The second is to board. The third is to get music if we want to listen to enjoy our music while flying there, and the other one is to land. But all what transpires throughout this process, many of us are not interested. But for now, we believe you should know what it means when someone is driving you at the suspension point where you are hanging between successful landing and you are hanging as well between that. But at all points, we believe that we should arrive safely, take off safely, and arrive safely. My name again is Ika Roata, and Mr. Godwin Ike is very much in. He has a wonderful morning, sir.
Good morning, Atta. How are you today?
I'm very fine, sir.
My dear viewers, please welcome to the program.
Okay, a very wonderful morning, sir. Let's quickly hit the ground and hit the ground. Do we hit the ground? No, in plane you don't hit the ground. You start there, you take off.
You hit the sky. You hit the sky.
You hit the sky. You hit the sky cruising. While the other ones you hit the ground running.
Right,
okay.
Right,
threat and error management part 1.
That's correct. That's correct. As a matter of fact, each time we step into the airplane and we look at the pilots sitting and doing their thing, the air hosts and hostesses milling around, you think that they are just busy having fun, but in the actual sense, they are trained to observe everything that needs to be observed, even the attitude and conduct of passengers that may exhibit signs of the strange behavior that should be, sent out of the airplane, all sorts, and including how the mechanics, I'm talking about the aeronautic engineers who are supposed to be maintaining one thing or the other. Everything is timely. You've got to do the things at the time you're supposed to do them. When you begin to do things that cause threat, to the safety of the flight you're about to make, then somebody somewhere needs to raise alarm, and they have their channel of communication and the way to put them across and what is expected from the captain. It's whole web of activities that really go on, and we do not really realize it. Our own is just step in, sit down, and enjoy your music and look forward to your cup of coffee.
Or red wine.
Yes,
red
that's
wine.
right. So anyway, let's hit to clip 1 so that we can introduce this awesome topic, threat and error management, part 1.
Okay, that's clip 1 there.
Yeah,
on the screen.
introduction. Threat and error management, fondly known as TEM, T-E-M, in aviation can be defined as a safety management approach which assumes that pilots will naturally make mistakes and encounter risky situations during flight operations. Here you can be sure that the God is the only one that is said to be infallible. I mean, we're all fallible beings as human beings, so it's expected that pilots are given that room and expected to make mistakes. And that's why this management procedure is in place. So we'll move to the next paragraph. TEM, TEM, teaches pilots how to manage threats and errors when they occur, rather than trying to avoid them and in the process compromise safety. TEM's goal, that is to the threat and error management, is to maintain safety margins by training pilots and flight crews to detect and respond to events that are likely to cause damage, which is threats, as well as mistakes that are most likely to be made, that's representing errors during flight operations. If we move to clip 2.
Clip 2. Okay, introduction continues.
Yeah. We're continuing with the introduction of TEM. Based on investigation of accidents of high-capacity regular public transport, usually known as RPT airlines, psychologists at University of Texas in 1994 developed the TEM framework. Identification of threats and errors during flight operations was an important aspect that required a credible evaluation method. Information obtained would then be added to existing TEM data. A line operations safety audit known as LOSA, Line Operations Safety Audit, serves this purpose. LOSA involves identification and collection of safety-related information on crew performance, environmental conditions, and operational complexity by a well-trained observer. So you must know that the air hostesses and hosts and pilots themselves and everybody that has anything to do with that flight is an observer and watching every inch, including the human beings sitting in there and their behavioral conduct and stuff. LOSA data helps in assessing how procedures are being implemented in day-to-day flights. I'll give you an example, Atta. In most international flights these days, if they are serving meals and for some strange reasons you refuse to eat, you know what that points you out? Immediately they suspect that you're a drug peddler, that you've ingested something, and you're scared of eating in order not to create complications for yourself. So by the time they go the first round and the second round, you're still refusing to eat and drink, they put a tag on you. As a matter of fact, as soon as they land, security officials are already at the gate waiting for you. And they pick you up and go and ensure that you are truly... That's right.
Like some of them will be fasting. But you just explain to them and you go.
Well,
explain to them before you go.
It's all part of the training. That's just to let you know that when we jump into the airplane, it's also for the viewers to understand that it's not as simple as getting in there, sitting down and saying things that you can say and doing things and behaving in any way you like. Just be sure somebody's watching and watching everybody. And all for the safety of the flight. So let's move to clip 3. Wait a minute.
Aviation method that helps provide data for them.
Yeah. Sometimes when you operate these things and they are not giving you what you want.
You have to take your time to get it stabilized very quickly here.
Yes. Get it back on the screen.
Okay, that's the 3 there.
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking about education.
A method that help provide data for them. That's education. Education, yes.
Okay. Methods that help provide data for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Education in procedural protocols and TEM concepts are classifications, and classifications rather, are the two main sessions in the training of LOSA experts. I mean, this is now telling us about this line operations safety audit, you know, what they need, you know, during their training. And it's saying that education in procedural protocols. You get, I'm taking it slowly because this is quite technical, and I don't want to bore our viewers so that they can all really understand what we're talking about. Right. Yes. And term concepts and classifications are the two main sessions in the training of LOSA experts. A LOSA trainee is taught to find data first and then code them later. All right? In the same vein, pilots are expected to include the LOSA trainees' opinions on what safety issues could have had an adverse impact on their operations. A LOSA trainee must then record the pilot's specific responses and then code performance using behavioral markers.
What are such markers? Behavioral markers?
Behavioral markers, I mean, they are set of look out for that this individual.
And the one you mentioned before.
That's correct.
Eating, somebody excessively asking for red wine. I know someone asked for red wine, and they had to tell the person, "Can we see you at the back?" And they had to ask him, "Is everything okay?
Yeah.
You need to take it easy." And some water.
That's right. That's right. Those are behavioral markers, and they have a list of them, and then they watch out, and you know.
Or someone going to the toilet regularly, and they had to watch you very closely. Why are you always going there?
That's right. That's you are getting.
Or someone told me that somebody was sweating, and they said, "Why are you sweating?
The air conditioner is working so well.
Very effective. Why are you sweating?" And everyone got so
angry. It's a sign of anxiety. You know, if you check that individual, you will find exactly why that is happening. It's not happening for nothing. So those are behavioral markers that these guys, look out for and do their codings. And so let's go on. Recordings are in the following order. 1, record visible threats. 2, identify error types, crew's responses, and specific outcomes. And then 3, use CRM behavioral markers. You remember what the CRM means? The crew resource management. So that's the meaning of CRM. My dear viewers, just to remind you, we did that last week. So using the CRM behavioral markers to rate crew. So you see, it's not only passengers that you rate. When you make report back to the pilot, the response you get from the pilot is also noted. And that will form the basis of how safety conscious the crew are and how they can be. Yeah, you understand. So that is the situation with this. So I think we've just done clip 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Can we go to clip 4? Are we there?
Okay, method that help provide data for term continues.
That's correct. Observers will then record a pilot's overall response on a 4-point Likert scale. Okay. Some pronounce this word Likert. Others pronounce them Likert. Whichever one that you choose, please go ahead.
It's a skill.
It's correct. So I call it Likert. 1 is poor. That is we're looking at the
degree here.
Yes, that's
poor,
right.
Marginal, good, and outstanding.
That's correct. So those are. This is taken from the previous clip, if you remember, where we mentioned those markers that will help you determine whether you are operating safely or not. Okay. Then we'll continue. Importance of threat and error management term. Term is an important element in the training of pilots who can manage in-flight challenges. There is nothing as disturbing as when you have in-flight challenges, when the flight is threatened by either technical issues or some individual misbehaving or some one thing or the other. Sometimes fire, but watch out and see what studies have shown about the kind of skills that the crews should have. So we continue now. Flight crew training stressed the importance of operational procedures and technical knowledge, with less emphasis placed on non-technical skills, which became isolated from the real-world operational context. I need to explain this to you. In the past, the crew, were trained and assessed purely on those technical knowledge that they had about how to do the flying, how to operate all the different parts of the airplane, and how to get things done, both in the cockpit and in the cabin and all those. And people became really overconfident. And in real life situation, it turns out that when real threat comes out of overconfidence, people, just brush through them and don't really take them as seriously as they require. And at the end of the day, the threat turns out to be very deadly and eventually causes a crash and slaughters human beings. And so we'll take this again. That's why we call it importance of threat and error management. And now that I've explained to you what the concept is and the mentality, I think my viewers will understand it more if I read through once again.
Go ahead.
TEM is an important element in the training of pilots who can manage in-flight challenges. Flight crew training stressed, that was in the past, the importance of operational procedures and technical knowledge, with less emphasis placed on non-technical skills, which became isolated from the real-world operational context. Safety training, such as STEM training, is important because a crew's non-technical knowledge helps more in managing errors effectively than crew's familiarization with operations through experience. So, you see, it's been discovered that those non-technical skills, come to play better during challenges, especially in-flight challenges. So possessing non-technical skills allows pilots and crew members to carry out their duties efficiently and effectively. Atta, that's where they need you and me.
That's true.
Do you get this point?
Away from the classroom here, there are things that, like what they say, what they never taught me in Harvard, and here you discover that after all what you've learned, at the point of crisis here,
yes,
your knowledge just cannot help you.
That's correct. That's correct. So those non-technical, you may come back to us. Those non-technical skills are what they really require when they are faced with some of those in-flight challenges. Give us that clip that shows the model of
clip 5 or clip 6?
No. It's just a photo model. It will appear.
Can we have the next clip? Let's take the next clip.
It will appear we're having some technical issues here. But if that is what we're experiencing, that's okay.
Clip,
we can go ahead and hold our discussions and conclude. Yeah.
Okay, if we can have the next clip, that'll be okay. But if not that, I think we can proceed. Okay.
Here we go.
Safe operations, threat, errors. I think that's it.
Yes.
Repair, recovery, and identify, prepare.
It's just showing you if you look at down there, the incident and accident.
Like an inverted pyramid.
That's correct. It's just telling you how these things are, are categorized, and in other.
But that UAS means what?
Aha.
But I know I can tell what happens here. I can look at the graph. I can explain it well. Our safety has the center stage here. Okay.
Yes.
But the guys don't want to ask you that. They want to ask you that.
Right, that's okay. So you see that generally now we are, this is part one.
Okay.
By next week, when we conclude with our part two, you will understand a little bit more, about what this whole thing is aimed at achieving. In the final analysis, we are looking at having our own people draw from these things we are dishing out, retrain our pilots on those non-technical skills. They've studied how to fly, perhaps studied the airplane.
But those non-technical skills, before our time elapses here, don't you think they should add that to the aviation college curriculum here? Because most times, what I have come to observe in my profession here, in private broadcasting, is that they don't teach you advertorials. They don't teach you how to make money. They just teach you, apart from those who are into public relations, they end it there. And most of the things I do as a broadcaster, a reporter, a journalist, a presenter, are largely what I wasn't taught in school.
It's always the case. Always the case. As a matter of fact, it will amaze you that, for instance, when we did the wildlife, best strike, my research and investigation showed that there is no aviation school in the world, not just Nigeria, in this entire globe, that has wildlife issues as part of their curriculum. It does all over the world. That will shock and amaze you. Sorry?
Sandstorm. Well, I knew coming to Doha from Singapore, we had come close to a very severe sandstorm, and we could see from afar that the storm was coming, and the plane was beginning to ascend, trying to go above the storm, and we finally actualized that here.
Yeah.
But somehow.
Atta, the issue that we are discussing here is that the aviation sector needs you and me.
Are you sure?
Those
to fly passengers
safely, to operate safely.
Okay.
Were you not amazed when Flight 447 Air France dropped off the skies and slammed into the Atlantic Ocean while traveling from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil to Paris in France? And when the cause of the crash came out, some young pilots were interviewed in Paris, and I was shocked. One of the pilots came out really very honest, brutally honest. He said, listen, this is the first time I'm hearing about high angle of attack causing the plane to drop off the skies. And nobody ever told me that in the aviation school. Yes, a young French pilot said so. I am not speaking from speculation. I watched him on CNN, and it gave me shock. And I felt like asking the French authorities.
I would have come to God UK Aviation College on ITV, and you get that. You get that very clearly here. You would have gotten that here very clearly.
It gave me shock. As a matter of fact, I felt like going to the French embassy to tell them, please, can you tell your aviation schools there that they need me? Because if pilots are not taught some of the things they're supposed to know, that guarantee safety, then, something must be done. And so now, again, we see from what we have discussed today that they need non-technical skills.
That means from next Monday, we'll still be with part one?
No. We'll be dealing with part two and the conclusive part of this, where we will see, virtually, I hope we'll just find enough time, because I don't want to take it to part three. I want us to conclude it next week. Everything, the type of training that, let me just call them crews, the kind of training that they need, in order to have them operating optimally and as safely as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, sorry, my dear, remember in aviation, everything is safety, and safety.
And the airplane.
Nothing
and
in
the
between.
airplane is a faithful machine.
And the airplane is a faithful machine.
Human errors.
Yes. If we match the faithfulness of this machine, they will never fall off the skies.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Godwin and EK. We'll be doing it together next week, Monday at 8 a.m. Please do follow us. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you very much.
All the very best.
You too.
Okay, thanks for being part of the show here and staying with us. You know, during the World Cup season here that we are still in, the programming on the independent television actually get a little bit altered here, but somehow we are working on that here. But after the World Cup season here, we're going to go back to our regular programming here. But for now, that's so far we can take on this morning on ITV this day. Thanks for staying with us. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. the program will be coming back. On behalf of the production crew and all the members of staff here, we say goodbye. Have a lovely and fulfilling day.